All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. It's the Rich Eisen Show basketball podcast. We are in the thick of it. Round 2 is going strong. East and West Conference semifinals. Let's just get right into it, guys, because last night, Ja Morant, we have been talking about him kind of throughout the year. Adam, TJ, what's up, fellas? We've been talking about Ja Morant and having a great year. He had a great, borderline kind of MVP type year, but then he missed a lot of time. And TJ, as you pointed out, the Grizzlies were something like 17-2 or something.
Oh no, they were like 22-3 or something.
Yeah, they had a phenomenal record kind of without him, which hurt his case. He's probably not going to finish in the top 5, but he is raising his level and his superstar status. He was most improved player in the league this year, which is something a lot of guys, LeBron kind of tweeted it last night, took umbrage with because he was already considered a great player, and then he's having a great year. But I think he kind of went from good to great, which you do improve in a sense there and that. But last night, what Ja Morant did last night to even the series against Golden State, it's the stuff of legends. It's how you become an all-time great. You do it in the playoffs. You do it when the whole basketball watching world is tuning in. And to throw in 47, he did it late down the stretch. We saw how he closed out the Timberwolves. I just can't say enough about him. It's so fun to watch, and the league is in such good hands with all these young players. Adam, what did you see from Ja last night? Are you like me? Are you superstar status? Is he top 10 now?
Yeah, Ja has arrived on the national level. Memphis, throughout the season, they didn't get too much shine. They weren't really known in terms of a TV audience. Not a lot of people watch them. And he's had to show in a big playoff game that he is that guy. He is a superstar. And I think last night really was his emergence on a national level. Basketball people know who he is, but he is becoming a household name now for just the casual fan who watches occasionally now. He was spectacular last night. He did everything that they needed to win. He shot threes, which was a huge issue for him in the first rounds. I think he hit more threes last night than he did in the whole series of the first round. So
you're right.
He was able to hit the threes, drive to the lane at will. His acrobatic finishes are special to watch. And he really reminds me of Derrick Rose from 10 years ago. That's the guy who I keep thinking in my head. I went to a game in 2011, the Bulls-Pacers playoff series, and I saw Derrick Rose take over that game at the end. I think it was game 1. And it was so similar to the way Ja took over last night. And so it's really special to watch. I can't wait to see the rest of the series right now.
Yeah, TJ, Adam likens him to Derrick Rose. Does he remind you of Iverson at all?
No, I wouldn't say Iverson. That's like an easy comp people love to seem to be making.
Little slender guy, guard.
Honestly, I don't really know what the comp is for this guy. I've been watching and trying to figure out. And to add to what you said at the beginning about, doing it on the big stage and all that other stuff, also doing it when everybody knows you're getting the rock. That's the thing you left out. Yeah. It's like, you're doing it on this stage, everybody knows, but also like you're getting the ball.
Right.
And,
right.
To watch this guy play, man, it's just really interesting because I was trying to do a thing where I like to do with athletes sometimes. I like to go, if such and such had a baby, it would be this person. Okay. So I tried to figure out who Ja's parents are. And with his hops, I keep getting the only guy that I can think of that was jumping like that with that much force is I want to say Dominique Wilkins when you look back at the way, but
but they also have to be kind of smaller and slender.
So I'm saying Nick was 6'8". So
right.
I really don't know.
What about Penny Hardaway? Do you see a little Penny Hardaway?
Penny was 6'7" too, though.
Yeah.
I guess he's kind of a smaller Penny. I mean, slender frame, not super.
I understand the Iverson, comp because Iverson was small, but
and the speed.
Honestly, man, with the hops that Ja has,
maybe a Penny Iverson combo.
Yeah, neither one of those guys had hops like this man. No, I seriously can't think of someone the way he's able to get up off the floor and the control that he has and the distance. You remember that dunk he had yesterday where there was a break and Clay was under the basket and Clay kind of just did an Olay, I ain't being on the poster. Ja took off from the dotted line. Yeah. It's just so this dude's hops they're just incredible, man. And I'm trying to figure out who he reminds me of. And the way he scores, his ability to get to the rack and then the angles that he shoots layups from.
Yeah.
Just all the while, like I said, people know you're getting the ball. And you're still not stopping.
And that's kind of the thing that he's really done the last couple of games against Minnesota to close out that series. The first 2 games against the Warriors. I mean, look at his numbers against the Warriors so far through 2 games. 34, 9, and 10 in game 1. Missed a game-winning layup. You talk about the angles and the speed at which he's able to get to the basket. And then 47, 8, and 8 last night in the win with 3 steals, 12 of 13 from the line, and 5 threes, which, Adam, you're right. He only had 4 in the whole series against the Timberwolves. He has 9 in 2 games from deep.
And he's going to have
the Warriors.
He's going to have to hit those threes because they're going to clog the lane in the next few games. You know the Warriors are going to clog the lane as much as possible. They're going to force Ja to hit those threes, and they're going to live and die by that. So he has to make those threes if they have a chance.
Yeah, and Desmond Bane has to keep shooting threes like that, and Brooks, who may get suspended for game 3, he's got to keep shooting threes from outside. But to go back to Ja for a second, TJ, your point, he's taking over the end of games. I mean, he scored the last 13 straight. It was game 5 against Minnesota, and he's getting the ball at the end. He's standing out there. I mean, he's letting the ball roll to half court. Then he's picking it up, and then he's just doing his thing. And you know he's going to the rim. You know he's going left. He wants to go left. He wants to get to the rim. He wants to embarrass you with a dunk, a dipsy-do layup, a twirling 360 kick-out pass for 3. He is doing whatever it takes, and it's really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, this kid is special, man, and it is fun. It's fun to watch him.
It's fun.
And I think the reason, when you talk about the next faces of the NBA, right, there is a tendency to be smaller guys, I think, right? Because like with a Steph and with a Ja, when you get the Giants, it's hard to relate to a 7-foot, 280-pound man, especially for a kid. It's a lot easier to relate to when you see a guy. And by the way, Ja's taller than all of us here. But when you see a guy on the court and he looks like a little dude, I feel like that's kind of like kids kind of are drawn to him. And he's got that hair and it's colorful and he can jump and he smiles and he's fun. He's
dancing. He's high-fiving his dad on the sideline.
I gotta be honest with you.
Fun.
I'm a little over the gritty. I can't. It's a funny looking dance to me, and I'm not with it. But other than that, if that's the worst thing I can say about Ja Morant is that I'm over the gritty. Then Ja Morant's doing great. Like it was kind of like back in the day when you would talk about Cindy Crawford or Tyra Banks, and you'd have to nitpick, like, oh well, Cindy Crawford's got a mole and Tyra Banks has a big forehead. Like, no, you're reaching.
Yeah, I literally once said about Jessica Alba that like I didn't like her knees. I was like, wow. I don't know, forget. It was one of those movies. Might have been the Dane Cook movie. And we were talking about something, and I was just like, I don't like her knees.
Yes,
that's like deal breaker.
You have something that's just so perfect in front of you. You just look so. I mean, honestly, man, Ja is, this is fun. It's fun to watch him. It's fun to watch this team. And like I said, for as much as I love the fact that their uniforms, those blue with the yellow,
the sleeves and the socks,
how can they get it so right with those ones? And their white uniforms look like an AAU team. Like, they are the most boring uniforms in at least the NBA, if not all of sports. Like, do something better with those white jerseys because they look cheap. But the blue with the yellow, I'm here for that.
I think you're really onto something, Adam. It's like nobody pays attention to Memphis. It's in the middle of the country. It's not a big market. They're not on primetime. I mean, they will now. I mean, next year they're going to get it.
Oh, yeah.
They had 7. I think they had 7 primetime games.
No primetime games. They're not on ESPN. They're not on Turner. And now with the playoffs, all the games are on the big stage. They're all on the big TV networks. And now we're getting to see they're the youngest team in the NBA. They got a 22-year-old super duper star. They got a great coach who nobody knows what his name is. I don't even know his name right now. And they're just really fun, and they're really exciting. They're kind of the new Warriors, so to speak.
Well, that's why it's such a cool matchup, because you have the current superstar in Steph Curry, a future Hall of Famer, guy's won 3 championships, and now he's going against the up-and-coming next superstar in Ja Morant. So it's an interesting dynamic to see those two players play against each other.
It's Taylor Jenkins. See, I needed the voice of God in my ear to tell me his name. But he's a member of the Bald Brotherhood. I should know. That's respect. I will never forget his name.
He looks like he's like a D2 coach, though. You know what I mean? He doesn't have like an NBA look about him.
I still think, and this is just a side tangent, I still think these coaches wearing the sweatsuits and the quarter zips and I still don't like it. It's throwing me off.
Agreed. I'm a casual guy in general, but I like to see the coach in like an Armani suit. That looks nice. The one person I do think has made some style is Eric Spoelstra. He wears like the tight black Heat shirt. Yeah. That looks like kind of chic, kind of cool.
Snyder too had a nice.
Yeah.
Well, because they wear kind of a fancy belt, and and they still have like watch and maybe a bracelet or something. It still kind of shows off like I'm classing this up a little bit. All right, so we're talking about Ja, and I texted you guys this last night. Back to back, we had 2 games in a row where a young superstar threw in 45 plus. I know they lost game 1 against Phoenix, but man, what Luka did in that game as well. This guy, 23 years old, doesn't look like he works out. He'd rather be at the bar with his supermodels smoking hookah. And then he walks out on the court and it's like, oh, cool, I'm going to old man game you to death with all these up and unders and step backs. But Luka throws in, what was it, 45?
45, yeah.
5 and 7 or whatever it was.
Oh, no, 12 and 8.
Sorry, 45, 12 and 8 in a GD playoff game. Like, that is insane. I'm just going to throw this out there and we can debate about it. Who are you starting your team with, Luka or Ja? Your general manager. I made you GM of the El Segundo Warriors. Go. TJ, Ja or Luka?
Oh, man, first pick?
First overall pick. Redraft. Go.
Oh, man, that is tough, but
you're on the playground. Those 2 dudes are standing there.
Well, here's the difference. If I'm on the playground, it's one thing for sure. Like, I'm definitely picking Ja on the playground.
Why?
Just because his game, like, is fun. Luka doesn't have an exciting playground game.
Oh, I know.
Like, you
but
just
I'm
got that saying. It's up and unders, it's old man moves, it's step backs. If you're talking playground, that's excitement. That's like, you don't go to a playground to go watch dudes.
No, you're true. You're
Yeah,
true.
so-
I guess I didn't mean to say playground. I was just trying to make an analogy.
But
if you're starting an NBA franchise, I guess if I make you Jerry West,
I guess I'm. Look, if you're making me Jerry West, I'm going to ask you if I could go sleep on it. That's a winning time reference.
You were not sleeping on this.
I think oh man, you asked me right now at 12:28, I'm going to say Luka. You ask me tomorrow or in an hour, I might give you a different answer. But as of right now, I'd say Luka. I would pick.
Adam, I know your team, Luka, but are you going Luka over Ja?
You know, I love Ja. He's a superstar. He'll be a top 10 player eventually. But long term, I'm just thinking Luka, and I'm thinking long term just in terms of injuries because Ja, I really don't want this to happen. I hope Ja has a 20-year career, but the way he plays is so explosive. He's always going to the rim, and in the back of my mind when I see him play, I'm always worried he might get injured. And so in terms of longevity, I know Luka's been injured before, but I just think long term his game is more sustainable in terms of he doesn't really use his athleticism. He doesn't really have that much athleticism.
It doesn't seem like it, not yet.
So that's what I'm concerned about. I think Ja is slightly a better defender than Luka. I think Luka gets you more rebounds and is a better distributor. It's very close, but if I had to pick one, I would definitely pick Luka though.
Yeah, Luka, as I tweeted out the other day, he was uninterested in playing defense in game 1 against Phoenix. He was just all about whatever he was doing. I mean, he had 26 in the first half and 19 in the second. He was incredible in that game.
But
who do you have?
But they lost.
Yeah.
They lost.
Who do you have?
I think for the same reasons that you said, I would take Luka. I'm wondering if Ja Morant is going to eventually. The way he plays right now is not sustainable for a 15-year career. It's sort of like Russell Westbrook. It seems like he's going 100 miles an hour at all times. And as we saw the last couple of years from Russell Westbrook, the numbers look great when you're just looking at him in black and white. But when you watch the game, you're like, he's just not the same guy. And so I'm wondering if that's going to be Ja's path. I don't even want to think about that because that's a 10 years down the road question. I just want to enjoy his greatness right now. But I think Luka will have the better long-term career. I don't know. I think both guys can win MVPs. I think both guys can be the best player on a team that wins a championship. Don't you think, TJ?
Yeah, but I think the problem with Luka is like he needs help, right? He definitely has to have some help. And you and I were talking about this like after work yesterday. Is Luka the guy who, you know, we said Mark Cuban will never let him leave, but is Luka the guy who's going to pull a Dirk and be like, I'm staying here 20 years and not win? I mean, obviously Dirk won. I'm not saying that. But as it looks right now, this team, it's Luka, and I don't know what I'm going to get You know, we talked about Jalen Brunson and how well he played when Luka was out in that first round against the Jazz. But, you know, Jalen Brunson scoring 25, 30 a game is not sustainable.
Right.
He's just not that player. So it's all going to come down to who Mark Cuban brings in to help Luka out. I'm not convinced he ends up staying there his whole career if he doesn't get that help. But
what if I ask you guys this, Adam? If these two players switched teams, who goes further in the playoffs, Dallas or Memphis? Like if Luka played with the shooters on Memphis.
Oh, I think Memphis,
Bane and Brooks.
I think you add Luka on Memphis, and they're a better team than with Ja, because like you said, those shooters that he has around him. Even Jaren Jackson has been shooting threes well.
Yeah, that's true.
And you have Bane. Bane hasn't been great in the first 2 games in terms of shooting, but that guy's a shooter. I think Luka makes that team just all around just a better team in general. So yeah, I'd say Luka. I think Ja would maybe score more points, even though he's scoring a lot now with Memphis. He could even go crazier with Dallas, but I think in general Luka would make the team better.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Like Tim Hardaway, Brunson, Dinwiddie, not bad shooters, but are they as good as Brooks and Bane? Maybe not. And Jaren Jackson.
Well, Hardaway's out though.
Oh, Hardaway's out. Yeah, that's true.
And Jaren Jackson, he's made some threes, but he's definitely not a 3-point shooter.
No,
he's not a guy you.
It's a weird form.
Yeah,
too.
he's you know, he was 2 of 7 last game, and then he had 6, I think, one game. But before that, I think he combined. Well, I'm looking at it. He was a combined 6 of 9, 12, 16. So I guess that's not too bad.
So whose supporting cast is better? To me, the better supporting cast is.
Well, it's definitely Memphis because we saw what they did when Ja wasn't available. Like they won 22, 23 games without him. So,
What did you guys think about what Rich said today when he was thinking about watching Ja and then wondering what Zion was thinking and feeling today? Because I'm sure, I don't know, maybe Zion didn't watch the game, but surely he's kind of seen the highlights if he's scrolling Instagram. Did you give any credence to that, or what did you think about what Rich said, TJ?
Well, at first I was kind of like, why is Zion even, why bring him into this, right? And then after Kendrick Perkins, who called into the big show, kind of gave his thought, my thing is this, and you've said this before about Ja passing Zion and stuff, right? Zion missed the whole season, factual. There's no argument there.
He's missed a lot of time, yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, Zion is still he scored 27 points per game and I think 7 boards last year when he played. So it's not as though we have a situation where Zion, when he's on the court, is not delivering. The guy's going out there. He's a highlight. He's doing his thing. He just didn't play this year for whatever, like the broken foot, maybe the weight, whatever. So I feel like when you say that, it's almost like you have to take the point of view that when Zion is playing, he's not being productive. And that is 1,000% not the case. When he's available and he's on the court, he's putting in work. So you just kind of have to write this off as he missed this year. We'll see what happens next year. But I'm fully expecting next year for Zion to come back and be that 25-8 guy again.
I guess we all have kind of short memories, Adam. It's not unprecedented for young players to miss a lot of time. Magic Johnson had an injury early in his career, missed a lot of time. Jordan obviously had the broken foot, missed a lot of time, and then came back and averaged 37 a game, the most we've seen kind of in a long time. What did you think of what Rich said about wondering what Zion thought about seeing the clips of Ja's performance on Tuesday night?
Well, if anything, I think Zion has to get motivated from what he's seeing. He grew up with Ja. He was his peer. He was on the same AAU team as Ja. He has the potential to be that type of player as Ja. So if anything, I think from this playoffs, he needs to understand that he has a team that he can take to the potential Western Conference Finals next year. That team is good. They have Ingram, CJ, all their young rookies. That's a good team that they have to build around.
Herb Jones.
Yeah, Herb Jones. Okay. Back then, they didn't want me. Okay.
Nice. No, keep going.
I'm not hot. They don't want me. You guys know that reference. Anyway. Yeah, Zion, this just has to be motivation for him. Bottom line, he needs to get in shape. He needs to do whatever he needs to do in terms of getting healthy. He needs to find whoever the best doctor in the world is for a foot. He needs to talk to that doctor. He needs to get healthy. He needs to get motivated, because at this time next year, he can be in that exact same spot that Ja's at right now.
See, I think that's my problem, though. You say he needs to get motivated, and when he's on the court, I mean, look at the results that the man's
motivated in terms of getting in proper shape.
But I mean, like, all we're looking at is we saw a commercial all year. All we saw was him doing this commercial, and he looked huge, right? He looked like a D end. But then we saw the video during the playoffs of them dunking, and it was just like, well, was he wearing a fat suit? Like, that dude looks in shape. So, again, like, I don't think we could sit here and say he's not motivated or Ja's passing him by. He got hurt, which happens. It's basketball. He is a big man. Does he need to lose some weight? Yeah, I would say so, because at 6'8", you don't want to be carrying around 290.
Yeah.
You know, a friend of mine was a guy named Danny Fortson, who used to play in the NBA for about a decade back in, the late 90s into the 2000s. And Danny was about 260 coming out of college in Cincinnati. He was lifted weights, big, strong. And then after his first year, we were hanging out, and he told me the one thing that he had to do was lose weight. He goes, because I didn't need to be as big as I was. He thought he had to be so big to go down there and bang with the Karl Malones and the C-Webs of the world. Those power forwards, Tim Duncan said he'd have to play against every game. But he realized, he could still stay strong, but dropping his weight was going to give him more endurance. So I feel with Zion, yeah, he definitely should. You're right. Needs to get maybe, and look, who am I to talk about proper nutrition? I'm going home and eating a Boboli after this. But, then again, I'm not 22-year-old, like, wonderkin basketball player either. So I'm not worried about Zion whatsoever. I feel like if this motivates him, cool. I'm hoping to see what his team did in the playoffs is more motivation for him than anything that anyone else is doing. And I'm looking forward to the comeback next year. I think my man poster sales are going up next year. Just know that. I think
the Pelicans also, like Adam, you kind of put it out. They're a team that could make the Final Four here. Like they have some really good young players.
Close, yeah.
Brandon Ingram kind of took the jump from what we thought he was with the Lakers, and then just being shipped out for Anthony Davis in that trade. People thought CJ was just going to go down there and kind of do whatever, and then maybe angle for a move somewhere else. But he seems to like it down there. Didn't play well at the end of that series against Phoenix, but showed a lot of bright spots, and he can still fill it up. And now Zion comes back fully healthy. Look out. Why can't this team do what Memphis did this year and suddenly get the 2 seed?
Yeah, absolutely they can. And I'm not doubting the way Zion plays. He plays hard. I've watched him since Duke. The guy puts it all on the court. So it's not even about him playing hard or being lazy. It's just in terms of off the court, just getting in proper shape.
Also perception too. Perception is reality in sports and in so many aspects of our life. And, the kind of perception is out there that he doesn't train hard in the off season. He easily puts on weight. What's going on with his family? Who's really calling the shots? And so I think if he gets out there, kind of shifts that narrative a little bit just by getting on the court, balling out. The first poster he put someone on, TJ, the first 35-point game, we're going to all forget about this last year.
Yeah, I think so.
And kind of all the narratives that
and again, bro, and like I said, you and I, we've had this conversation for months. I don't.
We love Zion. I don't want people to think we're slagging on him.
It's not a Greg Oden situation where, like, and much respect to Greg Oden, another guy who could have had a very, very good career, but his body, just didn't allow it. But even if Greg Oden had a decent career, you're always going to look at it and go, well, Kevin Durant, though.
Right.
I feel as though Zion and Josh should keep that gap.
Yeah, they should be
close.
Together. They should be neck and neck.
But we'll see. We'll see. But like I said,
we'll see.
I'm happy. I'm excited for the future for both of those cats.
All right, a couple of games tonight. Game 2s, Dallas and Phoenix. We talked a little bit about Luka Doncic, but TJ Sixers down 1 here to Miami. Game 2 coming up in a couple of hours here. Hopefully you guys can get a chance to listen to this before that game finishes tonight. No Embiid, obviously.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Miami's an 8-point favorite. What do you think about that game tonight, and what needs to happen for maybe Philly to kind of steal one?
Well, for that one, let's be honest. Rich was trying to bait me during the show yesterday about was I worried. And my thing is right off the bat, we're the road team, game 1 of the playoffs. Statistically speaking, you're going to lose that
you're
game
supposed to lose, yeah.
Anyway, right? So now you have your MVP candidate who's out. So that's definitely a game that chances are you're not going to win. I feel like the Sixers, they hung in that game for 42 minutes. You know, the last 6 kind of got out of hand. But they played pretty well until about the middle of the fourth quarter. And we kind of got exposed because we didn't have Embiid. It's going to be tough, obviously. But if we can, all I'm hoping for is just to get a split. Find a way to win the day. And I think Embiid comes back. You were talking earlier about why didn't he just play? And I was like, I don't think it's so much the face injury. It's more the concussion. And they have to really be careful about that. So hopefully by game 3, he can come back. Getting a split, obviously that's, you know, the best case scenario, but even down 0-2 going home, if he's back, I'm still going to like our chances because quite frankly, there's just no answer. He's an unsolvable riddle, Joel Embiid. So
what do you expect from James tonight? I mean, does he have another one of those 40-point games in him, 48 and 8 or something like that?
Adam's looking at me like, yeah, what you thinking? Bro, I'd love to say it, but you know, something that surprised me.
I also love James Harden. I think he's incredible.
The thing about Chris Brockman is some of the people that Chris Brockman loves and dislikes, you would be like, wait a minute, you love him, but you hate him. It's very weird. But, you know, last week I brought up on the show that, you know, we were expecting something different from playoff Harden. And I saw a few comments on Twitter and YouTube where I was just getting slammed like, well, what has Harden done in the playoffs? And then I kind of took a step back because I didn't really look at the stats. But yesterday, Chris, you brought it up. You brought up his stats from the playoffs last year, right? Do you remember?
Yeah.
And it was just like he was averaging, 35 a game last year?
He had a couple ridiculous games just last year before he got injured.
Yeah, so I was right, but people listening made me feel like I was wrong about it. So, I mean, can he turn back the hands of time? I don't know, bro, because the one thing about James Harden, he was great at getting to the line, right? He's not getting to the line as much. He is quietly, he's a great ball distributor. Like his assists and things, but are we going to get the 35-point Harden game that we absolutely need? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure if he still has it in him. And I hope maybe somehow James Harden sees this and he takes offense to it and goes, let me show these guys. But I just don't know, man. We're going to have to see when they get on that court.
Last year, you know, in the first round, they beat Boston in 5 games. I mean, he had a 41, 7-10. He had 34, 10-10 in the closeout. I mean, he averaged 11 assists per game in that series last year.
And I brought that up, and I was told that I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah, and then he got hurt, and then he got hurt in game 1, you know, against Milwaukee, and then tried to gut it out. I don't think he gets actually, Adam, enough credit for coming back and kind of gutting it out. That hamstring strain he had last year against Milwaukee should have put him out several weeks, and he only missed 3 games. And he was able to kind of come back, and unfortunately Kevin Durant wears an 18.5 and not an 18, or that could have been, you know, a different story for them. But, you know, I don't know. He's on the longest stretch of his career without scoring 25 points in a playoff game, you know? So it's like, does he still have it? That's the kind of question we've been kind of asking for weeks now.
I absolutely think he has it. And tonight's the night to prove it. He needs to score 30 to 40 points for them to have a chance to win tonight. Yeah. And so he has to understand that he's the number 1 guy right now. There's no Embiid right now. He has to take over like he was on the Rockets. This is his chance right now. Game 2, you get the split. You've got the momentum going into Philly. So he has to have a big game tonight or else they're in trouble.
Yeah, think about it. If Philly can win tonight, they've now taken home court. Like, Miami's supposed to win.
That's my whole point.
Supposed to win both games, and that's kind of what you were saying. You know, that's what Milwaukee did against Boston. Golden State was able to do that with Memphis. They were able to get one of those games and get a split. So now they have the advantage. It's a best-of-5 series with you having the 3 home games.
You know, even more so than that, right? It's kind of like you said 30 to 40. I don't think we necessarily need 40 points out of James just because the Sixers do still play good defense, right? But we need other guys to step up. You know, we're starting, and by the way,
Tobias had a nice game in game 1.
Quiet as kept. Tobias Harris in the playoffs the last 2 seasons, last year, I think he didn't score 20 points 2 games the entire playoff run. He's almost like the most quiet 20-point scorer that there's ever been. You know what I mean? He had 27, and you're like, where did they come from? But we need other people, you know, and I love DeAndre Jordan as a former Clipper fan, but DeAndre Jordan starting right now in the playoffs in 2022.
That's crazy.
Kind of crazy. He only got 17 minutes, so that's fine, you know. And there's definitely things he can do out in the court, I think, that can help. But at this point, you might as well just start Paul Reed and kind of like play small ball and hope for the best. I need Danny Green to continue doing what he's doing. He missed a lot of Bruce Bowen threes, and I call them Bruce Bowen threes, which are the corner threes, because
Just standing there all alone.
That's
in
how
the corner.
Bruce Bowen ate for years. He couldn't make a shot anywhere but from each corner. Danny Green missed a few of those, so I just need him to step a little bit. Maxey, he's doing his thing. We just need someone off the bench, whether it's man, I don't even know. I'm looking at the bench, and I'm like, I don't know where the points are going to come from. Maybe Shake Milton, maybe Matisse. I don't know, but
I think you need one of those. I think tonight you're gonna need 30 plus from Harden, also 10 plus assists, and you're gonna need a great game from Maxey, kind of what we saw at the beginning of the playoffs, and kind of to end the regular season. You're gonna need one of those 27, 28, 30-point games from Maxey.
But as the Heat goes, they very balanced squad. You got Hero coming off the bench. He had 25. PJ Tucker had 10, which is, I think any point you get over 2 from PJ.
But he's making those corner threes.
Corner 3, he's a corner 3 guy. Yeah.
Jimmy Butler only had 15. I mean, you're going to take that every day of the week. But guess what? At some point, Jimmy's going to have 25, 27. You're going to have to deal with that. So, Bam, without Joe in the game, it's just like we got no one to body up Bam. So, it's going to be tough. It can be done, though.
It can be done. It's stranger things have happened in the NBA playoffs, but I'm certainly not expecting it. Adam, you think the Heat win tonight?
Yeah, I think the Heat win tonight and they win the series.
What about Mavericks and Suns? Who we got 2-0 Suns tonight, or does Luka steal one? I weirdly think this series is maybe going 5 games.
Yeah, I was going to say that also. I just don't. I think Dallas is just so overmatched in this series. Although I will say Phoenix shot so well in Game 1. Mm-hmm. It'll be hard for them to shoot as well in Game 2.
Well, don't they have something going right now, TJ? Did I see that stat where they have like 7 or 8 straight playoff games shooting over 50%?
Oh, they do? I did not.
Yeah, first time since the Lakers, I think, in the 80s. Like it's crazy. It seems like I kind of said that watching the first half in this first game. They shot 56% or something. I was like, oh, they can't keep that up. Then all of a sudden at the end of the third quarter, they were up to 63%. Like they really did shoot the lights out. Obviously that you're going to regress to the mean there, but I just don't know, like we've said before, I don't know if Dallas has enough firepower behind Luka.
And even if, from their wings, if they can match up. Right now, DeAndre Ayton's playing like, oh, yeah, I'm the number 1 draft
out of his mind.
And Dallas doesn't have anyone who can match up with him.
Nobody.
So, yeah, I'm with you, man.
What did Ayton have? 25 and 8 or something in Game 1?
And 25. 25 and 8. Yeah. He was 12 of 20, I think, from the field. So,
man, DeAndre Ayton, if that guy is pouring in.
God, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the Suns had 6 guys in double figures in the first game. 6 guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing. Well-rounded team.
Like I said, they're well-rounded. They've been there. Like this all started in the bubble, right? This run started in the bubble when they went 8-0 and didn't make the playoffs, but everyone's like, oh, Devin Booker's now a star. This team could go somewhere, and they've just been on a roll ever since then. So, look, good luck. Good luck stopping the Suns right now, man. They're playing well.
Oh, yeah, here's that Suns stat real quick. The Suns shot at least 50% in their 7th straight playoff game, tied with the 86 Lakers for the second longest streak. The 84 Lakers did it in 10 straight games.
Wow. 86 Lakers did not win the NBA championship, though.
They did not.
Oh, yeah, they lost to the Rockets. That's the famous Ralph Sampson where he's, I think, on the floor.
86 was Boston.
No, but I'm saying the Lakers lost to the Rockets.
Oh, yeah, they didn't make the finals in 86. Yeah. All right, let's talk about those Celtics real quick. What did you guys think about that last night? Did you expect a bounce back like that? I kind of did after the way Game 1 went.
I haven't been giving the Celtics enough credit.
Oh, really? No way.
I mean, I thought they would lose in the first round against the Nets, and they ended up sweeping the Nets, so I was completely wrong with that. I thought they were going to lose again last night. I'm not going to lie. I mean, we have a...
Well, Marcus Smart was out. I think that's very logical to kind of think that. Your point guard who's been playing really well this year and defensive player of the year. That's obviously a big loss.
I mean, Brockman, you texted me and our friend Josh. We have a nice little gambling thread, and you texted us a parlay for the Bucks to win, or excuse me, for the Celtics to win,
And the Grizzlies.
And I just responded, bad idea. And no, that was actually a great idea. That won you a lot of money.
Yeah, that's what happens.
So I don't know what to think. What to think with these Celtics.
It's
and Bucks.
it's kind of been a weird first two games between these two teams. You know, Milwaukee, the defending champs, they got the best player in the league. Their second, their complementary unit to Giannis plays really well. They know their role and they're really good at it. They have really good 3-point shooters. Connaughton, Ted Craig, just keep calling him Ted Cruz. Grayson Allen, and Brook Lopez from the 5 spot is a really good 3-point shooter. Bobby Portis is a really good 3-point shooter. DiVincenzo, when he's healthy, is a really good 3-point shooter.
DiVincenzo isn't on the team.
Oh, did he get traded?
Yeah, I forgot. You said that last week. I meant to correct you.
Oh, sorry. Well, he was a part of their. I know he got hurt in the playoffs last year, but he was a really good 3-point shooter during the regular season for them. But they've got their supporting parts, know their roles, and do them really well. And then that's what Boston kind of did this year. It just took them a few months to kind of get it going. And I know, look, I totally understand not expecting a lot from Boston. You look at their defensive metrics and all the fancy analytics stats that kind of favor them, and you're like, I've watched the games. Come on. Are they really going to be able to defend Giannis? Are they really going to be able to defend KD and Kyrie? Are they really going to be able to keep up this pace? Is Jason Tatum really a superstar? Jaylen Brown has a good game, one game, and then he has 2 bad games. And then he has 3 good games, but then he has 3 bad games. And I just think when they put it all together, you saw it last night, they're really, really, really hard to beat. Really hard to beat. They play really good team defense, and when Grant Williams is making threes, and when Peyton Pritchard comes off the bench and hits a couple of shots, and
Grant Williams had a great game yesterday.
Grant Williams is a really underrated player. He can hit that corner 3. He's another one of those corner 3 guys, and he plays really good defense. And look, it just comes down to how you want to play it. Do you want to let Giannis score 50 and stop the other guys, or do you want to stop Giannis and make the other guys beat you? They kind of did that in game 1, and the other guys beat them. And last night, Giannis didn't have a great game, and the other guys didn't either, and it was kind of a blowout. I just don't know what to expect as this series kind of shifts to Milwaukee. It's really tough. I definitely think it's going 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, I'd say 6 or 7 also. I was looking at the stats here. Let me look. I think Brook Lopez struggled big time last night. Here, he had only, Brook Lopez only had 2 points. That's not going to cut it for the Bucks. That's not
going to cut it, and that's really outside of the norm for him.
Yeah, I mean, that guy was great against the Bulls. He's a guy that I would think will get you, anywhere from 10 to 15 points a game minimum usually, 10 rebounds, a couple threes. So he needs to step up in games 3 and 4 for them to take control of the series. Wes Matthews didn't play that well. Holiday was only 7 for 20, so not a really good shooting night. Giannis 11 for 27, not a good shooting night at all. You have to credit the Celtics defense for that for sure. The Celtics probably are the best defensive team in the league right now.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting going into game 3. I think the Bucks are going to come back and win game 3, but yeah, I think it's going to be a tight series.
It's kind of what we talked about too, TJ, about you wanting to get Philly to steal one tonight. Milwaukee got there, so now it's a best-of-5 series, and they have the 3 home games. So it's just a matter of can Boston take one in Milwaukee and then, setting up that game 7 at home.
Other thing, we spoke about this. It wasn't on the pod. It was on the big show. But watching game 1, right? And we saw the Nets and the Celtics, right? We saw Jason Tatum kind of ascend to where, as I said on the show, he's now on the list. The list of who are your top 10, who are your top 15. Without question, Jason Tatum's on there. And then there are people who are saying, well, Jason Tatum has surpassed Kevin Durant. He's done this, that, and the third. And then that game 1 with Giannis, right? Giannis was just that much bigger, that much stronger, that much better than everybody else. And it was like he was dominating the Celtics, and he made them look like they shouldn't have been on the same court with him. And yeah, he only had 24 that first game, but if you look at some of the moves, the block shots, just watching him out there, this dude is, legitimately, the Greek Freak is a perfect name for this dude. He's so big, he's so strong. And then after game 1, he's saying how he doesn't feel good unless he feels beat up. during the game. So he went from a guy who was, 6'10", probably a yard and a half, 150, 190 pounds. I know that's a big discrepancy there. To now he's 6'10", 6'11". What is he, 240, 250?
240,
of just, of swollenness. And this dude's looking to body you, man. He's looking to put it on you. And he's hard to stop. And good luck to anyone trying to body this man up, man, because you're in for a long night.
What I can't stop thinking about Giannis is that
those Oreos he eats, and
first off, I don't know how. I love Oreos as much as the next guy, but man, that's so many Oreos.
That's so many Oreos.
He's 27, and it feels like he's not even close to realizing
how good
his
he is.
full powers and what he's fully capable of on a basketball court. I can't stop thinking about that.
If you look at most players, Michael Jordan, Shaq, they didn't really enter their prime until they were like between the ages of like 28 to 31. Those were the prime years for those guys. And so to think that Giannis is still just 27, the next 3 to 4 years can really be his absolute prime after the fact that he's already a multiple-time MVP award winner, won a championship. He won a championship at 27. Jordan didn't win his first one until 28. So it's scary to think what's going to happen.
It's really scary.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, that makes sense too, because a lot of these guys, right, you're getting by on your supreme athleticism, right? You have otherworldly athleticism when you're young, but you still don't quite, mind you, there's a few guys who do, but you still don't know how to play the game the way to take your game to another level, right? So now that these guys, like, they dominate physically when they're younger, and now, like you said, they get 27, 28, now they get it.
Yeah.
They understand. Like, they've got the routines down. They know what they can and can't eat. They know, like, all right, you know what? I got a 3-game stretch. Maybe I'm going to, like, take it easy for a couple quarters. Like, they've got all their tricks in their bag, and you're right. So once you get in that league, your athleticism might go away slightly, but your IQ and everything else about your game is just upped. So, yeah, it makes sense what you said.
You know who I think about when you talk about that? And you say those things? Anthony Edwards. This dude is 20 years old.
Yeah.
He's 20 years old, and look at the things that Anthony Edwards did this year and in the playoffs this year. Think about, he's 3 years younger than Ja, and look what we're talking about when it comes to Ja and Luka.
Mm-hmm.
When Anthony Edwards finally figures it all out.
When Anthony turns that 25, 26-year-old.
Bleep. Like, we're talking MVP. He could average 40 a game if he felt like it. I love watching Anthony Edwards too. But back to Giannis. Obviously, he's the best player in the league. I expect Milwaukee to push Boston and Boston to push back. I expect this to go 7 games. It's going to be a really, really, really fun series. What's the other one we haven't talked about? Did we talk about all these guys?
Got them all. Grizz Warriors, Suns,
I feel like
Mavs.
we got them all. Suns, Mavs.
Yeah.
We agree that's going 5 maybe.
I'll just say this, that it really sucks for the Warriors that Gary Payton II is probably out for the season because that's a huge loss. He's been great this year. Great defender, great spark plug off the bench. He was great in game 1 in critical minutes. And so I still think they'll win that series, but that's just a huge loss, and I feel bad for him. He's such a hard-working player, and for it all to happen like that down I wouldn't say it was a necessarily dirty per se, but just it was unfortunate what happened.
Yeah, I kind of disagreed with Kendrick Perkins, who was on the Big Show today, and Steve Kerr. I mean, look, you can't anticipate a guy still ascending while you're coming through to try to block a shot. I mean, he didn't mean to hit him in the head. It didn't look like any of it was intentional. It's just unfortunate. And he didn't know when he went up there that he was going to fall and hurt himself. And I think we're kind of all reacting because he got hurt, and he is going to miss the rest of the season. And, that's too bad.
But I also say this, like, having never played in an NBA game, when I have Chuck, Charles, Kenny, now Perk, and Steve Kerr, and they're all kind of echoing each other's sentiments, maybe there is a code that we don't know of. And,
maybe.
And, he did kind of, if you're the only thing about old school wrestling, there was a wrestler named Nikita Koloff who hit you with the Russian sickle, which was a clothesline. And that's what it looked like yesterday, him just coming back and cocking him in the head. It sucks to see it. You hate to see it. Me personally, in my heart, I'm hoping he didn't do it on purpose.
Right.
But I've got all these guys, former players in the league, and they're saying what they're saying. So I'm going to tend to lean to, maybe. But I'm hoping that wasn't, just something he did on purpose, and I don't think that it was.
All right, let's finish up real quick with some winning time. We're almost to the end, boys.
Unfortunately.
One more episode,
I can't believe it because I've had so much fun watching this show. We've enjoyed talking about it every week. It's so fun to tune into and rewatch a couple of times. So we got one left. So episode 9 last week. We're kind of breezing through the basketball season on this show. What's your thoughts on how they've kind of handled the basketball aspect of it, TJ? They're just kind of ripping through it. Where it looks like we got the finals coming next week, and we barely saw any of the playoffs. I don't know.
Because when you have a show like this, right, the hardest thing that you're going to do are your basketball scenes. It's just impossible.
That's true.
So, it makes sense for them not to spend a tremendous amount of time recreating basketball games. Like, the way they're doing it is fine. You get a couple minutes because, obviously most of these guys aren't going to look like true ballers except for the guys who are playing. So I understand that you want to focus, because one thing's for sure, one thing is undeniable, Chris and Adam, is that we can go on Google and we can see the game stats, right? You can see who won the games,
right,
see how the season played out. So we know that. So the purpose of winning time, I feel, is everything that, before they step out in the court, which they're doing a job handling. And and this one was tough because it was the moment where, Dr. Buss realized his mom, he was going to lose his mom, and that, and I think, all of us were mama's boys, and so I feel like we all kind of probably felt a certain way about that. So that was tough to kind of watch, and it was cool just to see like him have those moments with his mom where was that the country club that they broke into?
I think so.
No, I think it was a famous old estate in Hollywood.
Okay.
And and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure that later in his life, Jerry Buss bought that estate.
Yeah, because
I'm pretty sure that's what
told
happened.
his mom, he's like, I should buy it. So I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that when he was younger and they didn't have any money, they'd sneak in there and go swimming. So I thought that was a pretty cool scene.
I like that.
The Spencer Hayward part, that was hard to watch, to see the guy, because addiction is so rough. So seeing someone who was there and made it, and then just kind of succumbed to his addiction, that was kind of tough to watch. And
that
Wood
was
Harris
a cool
did
scene
a great job
with
playing
him and Kareem. That was really powerful, man. Like, I don't know if that's true that they did a team vote or anything, but then Kareem being the final. Yeah, it was final vote there, and like kind of.
I was the deciding vote. Yeah,
obviously he didn't know this. Spencer Haywood didn't know that while he was talking to Kareem. He kind of made it seem like they voted him out, and then Kareem was like, no, basically it was me.
Yeah,
that was pretty powerful. I couldn't believe that.
Before we move on further in this, to touch on what you just said, Adam, the estate that the Buss family breaks into is the famous Pickfair Mansion in Beverly Hills, and prior to Dr. Buss buying it, which he did at a probate sale in 1980, it was home to actors Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford, and it served as a home for Buss and his 4 adult children from his first marriage until 1986. Wow. Then he sold it to Pia Zadora, who was an actress back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And it got demolished in 1990.
So it's not even there anymore. I wonder what's in its place right now. That's kind of interesting. What else did you think about this episode? Kind of high on drama this week. The other part of it was Dr. Buss kind of figuring out who's going to be the head coach. Yeah, as we go down the stretch here.
And you kind of see like how Jerry West, like I said, the seeds were planted early, but you're now really starting to see like what his job is. Like he's evaluating, and when it came down to who's the coach, man, it was just like he slept on that. That decision ate him up, and so you can start to see where Jerry West now, he's like as an evaluator, and how he got to be, his second career is, doing what he did and help architecting those great teams.
Yeah, Adam, I think that really happened too. I don't think it happened as it did, but there was something in real life that played out where Dr. Buss went to Jack McKinney and Jack didn't recognize him. I think that was something that really happened. Maybe not how it played out specifically in the show about, because it looked like Jerry Buss was going to the house to give him the good news, because as they kind of set up, Jerry does things with his heart sometimes instead of his head, with what he should do. And so he was going to give the team back to Jack McKinney, and then Jack kind of didn't recognize him at the door, thought it was like the mailman or something signing for a package. That's like, whoa, you were going to give the Lakers over to that guy?
Probably not the best decision. And you could see, I think there was that scene in the locker room in the tunnel when Jack McKinney looks like he was disoriented
was
and he fell to the
kind of,
ground,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
security guard was like, "Do you need help?" And the exit sign was literally right there, so you could see his marbles weren't there at the time. In terms of, we talked about earlier, in terms of the basketball stuff, it is tough to make it look real. A criticism I have, and it's fun to watch, but it is a criticism. Every basketball play for the Lakers is an alley-oop. Have you guys noticed that? It's like I
have noticed that.
I get that they did some alley-oops back in the day, but they did a lot more no-look layups and no-look dunks, and every play doesn't have to be an alley-oop. That's maybe me nitpicking, but it's something I have noticed. And yeah, I wish they would. It is tough though. I wish they would show a little more basketball, what you were saying.
It's tough.
I don't really need the basketball though, because, like I said, tough, it's though. Like you're not like you're gonna get these actors who can't, and then I don't know. The basketball scene is really tough to shoot, so I'm okay with limiting it. In my personal opinion,
I thought also that they did a good job showing the reaction of Jerry Buss in terms of the team just won the Western Conference Finals, but his mom just died. And so it's like that thing he's been working so hard for. Yeah. He's been desperate to win. He's put all his effort into that. And the moment is kind of tainted because his mom just dies. Yeah. That sucks for him.
Very sad. Yeah. And also, the way the episode ended, right, where you had Kareem and you had this idea of like Kareem was standoffish and aloof, and Magic came in and they had their little skirmish earlier on. But like as the episode ended, he walks into the gym and there's Magic trying to practice the skyhook, and Kareem's like, well, no, if you're going to do it, I'm going to show you.
Do it this way.
And he had a whole metaphor about the big man and the skyhook, and it was just really dope to see. And to this day, it's the greatest weapon in sports. I think maybe now Steph's three-pointer, you could put it up there, but, Steph can hit a three-pointer from, half court. So it's not like anyone can go do that. But if you're big enough, you should be able, and that's why I've never understood how big men don't try to master that shot. But that was just a cool moment where those two had, and it was just like, all right, they're coming together and they're going to work it out. And we all know, what the end result.
Well, we know what happens.
Was.
And so speaking of the basketball, I'm really curious to see how they do this, because Kareem did have one of the most amazing game fives in NBA Finals history. Mm-hmm. He does get hurt, but he leaves the game, comes back, and kind of a really heroic game to win it, to set the Lakers up to be able to win in Game 6. Obviously, we know Kareem doesn't play, and Magic has his famous.
And then Magic has maybe the greatest game of all time.
And that kind of really explodes him into being kind of the man for the next decade for LA. So I'm really
next
curious
decade,
to see.
For the next 50 years.
Well, I'm saying in terms of basketball for the next decade, but the next 30 years of his life.
And to where now he is a world-renowned tweeter. Okay.
Best tweeter of all time.
Best tweeter of all time, Magic Johnson.
I can't get over Magic's tweets. But I hope they handle the Game 6 kind of the way they should, because it is one of the all-time great moments in NBA history, what Magic does in that game. So for sure, we'll see what happens. All right, that's going to do it this week. Enjoy the games, everybody. And we will see you next week.
Go Sixers.
Where we'll talk hoops and we'll talk the season finale winning time. Thanks for watching. Peace out.
Later.
Later.